We'll start off with public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to talk under public comment? You have another opportunity at 9:30, or you may do so at this time. Ron?
I have a notice up there, you have it?
Yeah. So, Ronald Wood.
So much better host, so much better.
Chairman, I'm Ron Wood. I live at 824 March Street, Susanville, California. I'm a resident. Today I'm talking about the County Board of Supervisors decorum at public meetings. On February 18th, I attended the Board of Supervisors regular meeting as a member of the public, not as a licensed private investigator. I spoke during the public comment period regarding agenda item H3, staff allocation for Sheriff's Department. After addressing the board on the Sheriff's Department budget item, the chairman suggested I might also speak on the issue later when it came up on the agenda. It should be noted that agenda item H3 was to be presented by Under Sheriff Minot later in the meeting. He also was there to receive commendation from the board. When the undersheriff came in front of the boardroom, to receive that commendation, he began thumping his knuckles on the podium and making remarks about how he has to come to this board and hear negative comments, rock throwing by the public. It was a little bit unnerving to hear this aspersion, knowing it was directed at my previous public comment regarding the sheriff's budget. His unprofessional behavior continued when agenda item H3 was finally introduced to discussion by the board. Under Sheriff Minot incorrectly argued that my budget questions were somehow not timely because the item had already been vetted through the public review process. In fact, the current budget item was the last of the series of public discussions. This argument appeared to be a little more than an attempt to discourage my comments to the Sheriff Department's budget. During the discussion that followed, the undersheriff displayed a series of aggressive behaviors, including staring me down in the room. The undersheriff was joined by a number of his staff who stood at the entrance of the boardroom. This behavior had a chilling effect on the public discussion. The video recording of the meeting posted to the internet YouTube by Lassen County Scoop clearly shows the undersheriff's display of anger and intimidating challenges. Members of the public who choose to speak at the board should never be placed on the defensive as the undersheriff attempted to do. Unfortunately, the Board of Supervisors also contributed to the undersheriff Minot's behavior, failing to immediately put the undersheriff behavior in check. Instead, Supervisor Bob Powell was allowed to add to this contentious behavior when he asked, "Are you accusing the Sheriff's Department of corruption?" Supervisor Powell's unprofessional remark implied that I was somehow the one to review and not the Sheriff's Department budget. Supervisor Powell, like Minot, were simply allowed to shift the discussion to me as a participant instead of addressing the critical questions I offered to the budget discussion. How many of the 18 Sheriff Department correctional officers have been certified and completed the state training as required by California Penal Code 831.c? This central question of certification presented to the board was never answered. The Board of Supervisors boardroom is a public room. The Board of Supervisors has a responsibility to ensure proper decorum is maintained at the board meeting that allows all those participating to be treated with respect, dignity, and fairness. This is a fundamental to the public process. It is my right, as well as other citizens, to participate in a climate of impartiality. Making the public feel welcome, not threatened, is an important part of the democratic process. The failure to control the decorum in the meeting was not lost on some of those from the public who witnessed the discussion. I received more than one comment regarding the outrageous, zealous actions of those individuals mentioned above. I realize each official is personally responsible for his own actions. However, government codes of conduct and ethics certainly demand much from this board as a whole. It is my expectation that the Board of Supervisors will take my remarks regarding meeting decorum under serious consideration. No citizen should be subject to the same difficulties I experienced while addressing this board. Chairman, I'm finished, and I would like to make that public record, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. And last week, Richard, when Mr. Wood had a problem, I suggested that we get back to his concerns in writing, and we carried on with it. And I think would be, I still think we should, I'm of the opinion, if it's okay with the rest of the board, that, you had some serious allegations, and I appreciate, you do have the right to bring anything forward, and I think we should, the best way to address it is just to respond in a written manner, and then you could take the response and go from there with it, but I believe anybody's owed
Yeah, I don't disagree, although the concerns that Mr. Wood has raised essentially are under the purview of another elected official, the sheriff. I don't know if he's addressed those directly to that elected official or not, but I would suggest that first Mr. Wood would formally address those issues to the sheriff rather than this body.
Okay.
But I don't mind working with the sheriff to facilitate that, if that's what he'd like to do.
Yeah, I think I would encourage you to do that and copy the board on,
Well, Chairman, I made an attempt to do that in the last meeting on the 18th, but we had, even today's paper, it's so distorted. It's all one-sided. All the discussion I discussed that day wasn't even discussed in that paper. So, I'm running these walls, and I just sitting there going, I had some central questions for the board. I just wanted to be answered before I make a decision of giving them $85,000. That's all I was asking. I don't need a letter saying from anybody saying that, I've already talked to the sheriff and he understands my concerns. My problem, or the problem was, is that the board had a budget, and a budget item. And, even while we sat here and discussed it, it wasn't even clear where the money was coming from until the sheriff made it very clear that it came out of the budget. So, I just want to address the decorum. I didn't feel comfortable that day. No public member should come in here, a citizen come in here and feel that way. This is supposed to be a democratic process, and you're supposed to be able to speak your word. Sometimes people come in here and talk, they just talk, and they vent. Well, I'm not venting. I'm a little upset. I took some time to write this letter for a public record to let you know that the decorum, I didn't feel I was treated properly in here with dignity and fairness.
well, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time to put it in writing and come and talk. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, if not, we will go into closed session, and Richard can get.
The board's going to be adjourned to closed session for 5 reasons. Number 1, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, 3 cases. Public employee employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54945.5, position is county counsel. Number 4, public employee discipline, dismissal, or release. To receive a report on claims. And the final item, conference with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, the case being Stone versus County of Lassen, case number 56493, Superior Court of California, County of Lassen.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll go into closed session.